Hey, English 11, it is Tuesday, April 21st, 2020, and today we are going to be going over expectations for your first summative reading test tomorrow on Wednesday. I'm going to go over what the test is going to look like, what you should be reviewing, and what you should have ready to go before you start the test tomorrow. All right, so test review. First of all, this is going to be the test format. There isn't going to be a time limit. That's been a question a lot of students have asked me. Will we be timed when we're taking these tests? No, especially for this one. It is a reading test, so I want to give you time to read and analyze. I will say that if you were to be taking this in my classroom, it usually takes students 45 minutes to an hour to finish. If it takes you less than that, great, check your answers. If it takes you longer than that, no big deal, okay? The entire test is going to be short answer, which you'll be typing. So please make sure that you are completely answering these questions and checking your typing so that I'm able to comprehend it, so you have time to review it and make sure it's revised. This is also going to be an open note test. Obviously, you're not in the classroom. I can't take your cell phone and keep an eye on you or whatever we would do. So this test has been designed that it requires you to read and use your notes, and our answers are going to be about your analysis of the text and less about getting the answer right, if that makes sense. That's why we're not doing multiple choice, etc. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. The things that you're going to be tested on are the elements of realism versus naturalism, irony, and you'll also be doing a personal reflection on the narratives of enslaved people. So first, I'm going to tell you what materials you should have out tomorrow when you take this test. These are the things that you should gather. First, your notes on the narratives of enslaved people. Those notes are going to be found on Google Classroom, and I'll be sure to put the slide number for you and attach anything for you as well to make sure that you have access to that, but they should be written down. In addition to that, the Harriet Jacobs and Frederick Douglass texts might be helpful for you. I will also attach them to the Google Classroom post on Tuesday. Most importantly, the realism and naturalism notes, which start on slide 10 of this slideshow, and the irony notes, which start on slide 122. So what do I mean by those? I mean these notes here. When you are asked which trait or theme from realism is present in this text, you should be choosing from the ones that have been provided to you. So for example, the rejection of the idealized larger-than-life hero romantic literature and the other traits that follow. The same thing goes for naturalism, which begin on 116, if you believe the text that you're reading is a naturalist text. This will also be a good review for you to look through these slides because you'll be able to see how you differentiate between realism and naturalism, more often than not thinking about it as pessimistic versus optimistic. All right, so make sure that you have these notes ready to go. You're definitely going to need them. The other notes that you're going to want to remember are the notes on irony, which I'll explain to you in just a second. It'll also be helpful for you to have the mystery of heroism and celebrated jumping frog texts out. You're not necessarily going to be tested on these specific texts, but having those texts out will remind you about the work that you did on those texts because you'll be asked to use the same skills for the text tomorrow. So let's talk more about the test format. You will be given two passages that you have never seen before. All right, so you'll be asked to read them. One is a short poem and the other is an excerpt from a piece by Mark Twain. You will be asked the following questions. Is the poem or text a realist or naturalism text? And then you'll be asked to identify two different values of the chosen genre. All right, so that's where, again, we go back here. These are values. All right, use of everyday speech patterns, or focus on the ethical struggles of social situations and social issues of real life situations, excuse me. So you'll be asked to identify, if you've decided that the poem is a realist text, Then you have to identify one trait, support that trait with specific examples from the text, and thoroughly explain how the evidence demonstrates the value. All right. Then you're going to have to do that again with a second value, so that you have to choose two. If it says two, please pick two different ones. Okay. One of the passages is also going to ask you what is ironic about the author's argument, identify the irony, and explaining it, use it evidence from the text. Those are the questions, honestly, that you're going to need to break down tomorrow for passages that you've never seen before. It's the same skills we've been doing, just with new texts, okay? And they are approachable texts. If you have questions about the text at all while you're testing, shoot us an email, jump into office hours. We'd be happy to answer what we can. So it's the same as if on a testing day, students walk up to my desk and ask me questions, and more often than not, I'm going to help you out, all right? So what I've prepared for you here is an example question. And if you click this link, it's going to take you to a text called War is Kind, which is also by Stephen Crane. You're going to answer the following questions. Is this poem a realism or naturalism text? Identify two different values of the chosen genre and support each value with a specific example from the text and thoroughly explain how the evidence demonstrates the value. So once you decide, is this realist or naturalist, then you pick those values out. And then you're going to tell me what's ironic about it. Now, I'm stressing this right now. This is not the test. You do not have to turn this in. This is simply practice so that you understand what you need to do for tomorrow. So if you do this practice question on your own and you realize you don't really know how to do it, you have the opportunity to email Mr. Johnson or myself and ask us how to do this task so that you can be successful tomorrow, okay? You are not turning this in. This is not the test. This is practice. All right. So if you have questions about how to do this task, ask them today because this is going to be your task tomorrow with different texts. All right. On Google Classroom for today's post, you'll find all of the materials mentioned that you should be looking through, but remember that you can have them out tomorrow. If you have any other questions, let us know. We do not want this test to be stressful. You should be ready for it if you've been doing the work in the class. It's all the same skills. We've simplified it as much as we can. And again, email us if you have questions. We also always allow redos on tests. Just know that it might be a different format. So this is not, make it or break it. You have more chances. This is just your first chance. Okay, I think that's all. Email us with questions. It's all going to be fine. Use this time today to study. And then, of course, good luck tomorrow. All right. See you later.